What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Star Wars Abridged. Today we will be getting back into Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi, and we will be jumping into Chapter 7 of that book. Throughout the first 6 chapters, we have learned that there is tragedy striking the Soule system. There are unidentified objects flying at near light speed toward the planet Soule Prime and the 2 moons Rooted and Fruited. People are dying left and right because of these objects, and it's just a really bad situation, but the Republic and the Jedi are there to help. Before we jump into Chapter 7, make sure that you are subscribed and leave a thumbs up on this video if you enjoy it, and if you're interested in Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire, check out the Star Wars Abridged playlist for that book, where you will be able to hear an abridged version of it. Let's jump into Chapter 7. So, the heading tells us that we are still in the Soule system, but this time we are above the Fruited Moon, and there is only 70 minutes to impact. So we're still going down by 5-minute increments each chapter, and we still don't really know what this impact is, but we can infer that it's going to be something bad. So, this chapter is told from the point of view of a Jedi named Taomi, and she is flying one of the Jedi vector ships above the Fruited Moon. And if you'll remember, we learned about the vector ships a couple of chapters ago. So, the chapter starts by telling us that there are 3 Jedi vector ships and a Republic longbeam all headed toward the Fruited Moon. They have been sent on a mission by Jedi Master Avar Kriss, who we met a couple of chapters ago as well. Their mission, which it says needs to be accomplished within the next 30 minutes, is to destroy one of these unidentified objects that are flying toward the Soule system at near light speed. It says that there is a very large object coming toward Fruited, and if they don't destroy it, it could potentially decimate the entire moon, which currently has about 4 billion people on it. Like, one of the very big objects that they still don't know what it is flying right toward Fruited. They can see that its trajectory, if it keeps going on the path that it's on, will crash right into the moon, and it could even cause the moon to explode. That's how fast it's moving, and that's how big the object is. So there's 4 billion people on the moon. They could all die if something does not happen with this. Taomi mentions that Avar Kriss told them that this is a high priority mission, which is pretty obvious considering 4 billion lives are in the balance. And it then explains to us that all of these Jedi that are going to be on this mission are connected. It's like their minds are an entangled spider web where they can feel each other's thoughts and feelings through the Force. It also explains to us that this is something that Avar Kriss is able to do. Taomi tells us that Avar has a special ability. She can sense natural bonds between Force-sensitive people like Jedi and make those bonds stronger. She's able to connect their minds and make those connections stronger, which ultimately helps out Jedi when they're on missions. When multiple Jedi are out on missions, they can be on the same page, they can have light communication with one another without the use of comms, just stuff like that. They can sense each other's feelings, little things. But if you're listening to our Star Wars Abridged series on Heir to the Empire, it's very similar to how Luke and Leia's minds are connected. So if you kind of know how it goes in that book, that's kind of the same thing that these Jedi are able to do in Light of the Jedi. So Taomi goes over her comms, and she tells the Republic longbeam ship that they need to transfer their weapon systems over to her so that she can have control of them. This is so that the weapons on the longbeam can fire at the same time as the Jedi vector ships, so they have a better chance of actually destroying this incoming object. The people on the longbeam give the okay to Taomi, and they start the transfer, which completes momentarily. Taomi then asks the other Jedi that are in their respective vectors beside her if they are ready to go through with this mission, and this is where we meet those other Jedi. There is a male Ithorian named Mikhail Sutmani. There is also a Jedi Knight named Nib Asik, and then Nib's Padawan, which is a Wookiee named Buryaga Agaburi. Once everyone tells Taomi they're ready, Taomi tells them to reach out with the Force and sense the incoming object. Once they get a feel for it and a lock onto it, they will fire their weapons simultaneously and hopefully destroy the object before it can hit the fruited moon. After a couple of moments, Tayami has a good feel of this incoming object, which is their target. She's completely locked onto it. She can sense its trajectory through the Force, and she can feel that the other Jedi have done the same. Now, Tayami and the rest of the Jedi are ready to begin the process of destroying this object. Tayami then briefly describes her lightsaber, which has a blue blade, but a very ugly hilt, and she reveals to us that it is necessary to activate the Vector's weapon system. The lightsaber is necessary. So she takes her lightsaber out, places it on a little control panel in the cockpit of this Vector, and the weapon systems start to come online. It is then explained to us that the reason this happened is because lightsabers are the keys to activate the Vector's weapon systems, and that is because they don't want anybody other than Jedi to be able to use the ships. It also explains to us that the weapons on a Vector can be scaled up or down depending on what needs to be accomplished, but for this specific mission, the damage output is maxed out because they want to completely destroy this object before it can hit the fruited moon. At this point, everything in Tayami's ship is ready. She reaches out through the Force to check and see if the other Jedi are ready too, and she senses panic from someone. And the person that she senses this panic from is Burryaga, the Wookiee Padawan. She thinks maybe, all of these lives are at stake, and that might be worrying him, putting him under a lot of stress. So Tayami tries to talk to Burryaga and try to calm him down, and so does Mikkel. They kind of get him a little bit calmed down, they think, so Tayami severs the Force connection that is making Burryaga connected to the rest of the group, so that he can just chill out, observe what's happening, and not have to worry about actually doing anything in the mission, and she doesn't want him to feel like he's going to mess something up. So she says, you can just observe, everything's going to be completely okay. So now, feeling that the Jedi are ready, and that they have their weapons ready and are about to fire them, there is only a few seconds left before Tayami is going to give the order. But then she hears a scream come over the comms, and it's Burryaga again. Nib, seeing as how she is Burryaga's master, is the only one who can understand the Wookiee language. She tells the rest of the group that they can't attack the object. They just can't do it. And this is high tensions right now because the object is almost in the trajectory where they need to fire to be able to destroy it. And if they don't, it's going to hit the fruited moon and kill 4 billion people potentially. So Tayami's kind of freaking out. She's like, why can we not attack the object? What's going on? And Nib reveals that Burryaga's emotions that he was feeling weren't his own, but they were actually other people's. The fear and worry that Tayami sensed from Burryaga was actually emotions that he was feeling from other people, not himself. It is at this moment that Nib reveals that the flying object that is going toward the Hetzal moon, which is ready to kill 4 billion people once again, is not an object that they can actually afford to destroy. It's not just a object at all. It's actually part of a ship. And it is full of people that are alive. So that marks the end of Chapter 7, and that last sentence that we get in Chapter 7 tells us that the object that's coming toward Fruited is full of people, and those people are all alive. So, if you really think about everything that we've read, some questions are starting to get answered. Some aspects of this book that may have seemed a little confusing at first are starting to clear up. And if you don't really know what I mean, just kind of go back into the book, go rewatch some of the earlier videos. But things are lightly starting to come together and make sense. But this was a crazy chapter, especially the ending. What a cliffhanger. We don't know if they're going to be able to save these people that are being hurled at this moon inside of an object. We don't know if they're going to be able to save the 4 billion people on the planet before the object hits the moon. There's just a lot of what-ifs and a lot of things that could potentially go wrong. But it left us on a crazy cliffhanger, and we'll get into what actually does happen in a later video. But I thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you're enjoying the book, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, make sure that you are subscribed and leave a thumbs up on this video if you enjoyed it. As always, I thank you for being here, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. May the Force be with you.